Welcome everyone on Kolkata with Community and Esmire Marketers Group. It's a good evening for everyone, and it's good afternoon for different regions. I'm not sure who are the participants joining from different global, and I would really thank everyone to join in this initiative and to learn something from Kolkata Women in Tech Group and Esmire groups. Really thankful for giving us this opportunity to Anurag and Kathy for putting all this brilliant content uh, on our marketing cloud side, martech side, right? So that everyone can understand what is the benefit of marketing cloud, what are all the tools available in marketing cloud, right? So I would recommend everyone to go and then watch the existing YouTube videos to understand the ecosystem of marketing cloud. And at the same time, unfortunately, we couldn't be able to provide you the demo arcs, but ideally, if you could see, and then if you have an ARCs which is working with your company, you could request ARCs. You could request a view user from the organization that what you're working with, and probably you could just practice things, right? So that is the group that we would love to give a lot of demos, especially Kolkata, which is one of the India's biggest women in tech group, who's led a lot of initiatives. Especially a special thanks to Kathy and all the people behind this group. And yeah, so coming to myself Anindra, and I'm sitting in Singapore, and I'm a part of Epistoki Group. It is a Salesforce platinum consulting partner company where the offices are located in different locations. And I have a personal blog, salesforce.wordpress.com. If you could follow, you could see a lot of content related to Marketing Cloud and other clouds. And I'm a chief technology officer within Epistoki, and I led all the technical initiatives and delivery and solutioning within Epistoki. And today's our topic, Marketing Cloud Contact Builder. Uh, in Contact Builder, hope you all aware of it. It's like Audience Builder. Beside Audience Builder, you can see Contact Builder, and within the Contact Builder, we have so many relevant topics available. Like one of the topics today that I would like to demonstrate is Data Designer, which is really most important topic to start with. Any marketing cloud, any sales cloud, service cloud, the data model is very important, right? So the same thing in Marketing Cloud. In order to build a data model in Marketing Cloud, data designer plays a crucial role in Marketing Cloud. As an architect, as a consultant, as a developer, as an admin of Marketing Cloud, you have to understand the data designer and the data model behind this. That gives a lot of power, personalization in customer's journey. And throughout the Marketing Cloud, this is very really important topic. Okay. So without any delay, I'm going to jump into our agenda today. Today, our agenda is to talk about the purpose and capabilities of Contact Builder, and compare and explain the impact of the cardinality of data relationship. Data relations. Cardinality is nothing but a relationship between two data extensions. In a typical term in our sales service cloud, we have lookup, master detail, and many to many relation, one to many, many to many, and all these relations, right? Using foreign key and primary key. That is called, we calling as a cardinality. Okay. So that we're going to talk about what kind of relations available in Contact Builder under the Contact Designer. And after that, we could summarize the use of Data Designer to build relational data model. That is one that I'm talking about. Using attribute groups, using using an attribute groups, using different data extensions, different relations that what we have, and we have two technical terms in Marketing Cloud that we're calling as category groups, as well as the relations. So we're going to talk about more on that, and after that we can talk about some best practices as well. And again, this is something hands on. Okay, this is not something I'm gonna show all the slides. For every slide I have a demo that I'm going to showcase logging into Marketing Cloud, and that gives a lot of immense clarity on each and every participant to check it out. Okay. And finally, any questions and answers you can post in chatter. Whenever I get a time, so probably I can take a look and then I'll answer those questions. Okay, sounds good. So let's jump into the real topic. What is Data Designer? As I said, under Audience Builder, under Contact Builder, we have so many elements available, which is Data Designer, data sources, all contacts, data analytics, contact analytics, data sources, right? So there are plenty of stuff. But today we would like to cover only Data Designer part. The rest of the sessions, which is going to cover sometime later in the weekends. and I have so many participants, so many presenters available to talk about multiple things. But today I would like to cover data designer and why we use in marketing cloud. Okay, it's simple. Data designer is a tool within contact builder that can be leveraged to define, organize, and relate information about a contact within an account. So at the end of the slide, I have a difference between, you people has to understand what is the difference between contact versus subscriber key. That is very, very important for any marketing cloud guy. That we will talk at the last of the slide, so that you'll understand. By looking all those things, you'll understand what is the benefit of contact versus subscriber key. Okay. So using data designer, as I said, it is a core of the whole heart of marketing cloud. Okay, the whole heart of marketing cloud to design your, or to organize, to to segregate your data within the marketing cloud. So you could use this data designer to define the attributes of your contacts and create attribute groups that allow to define relationships, and to design population that allow you to define and use subgroup of contacts. So that's called data designer. Okay, typically the data designer look like this. You can look at this, the data designer, where we can go and then uh, create an attribute group, and you can create a populations, right? So this is how it look like. But I'll go to the marketing cloud and I'll showcase how it look like. But before, I would like to give an architectural perspective and the consultant perspective, how we see data designer normally. Okay, so if you go, in a typical organization, right? So if I'll just remove the grid. So typically, when you work with any requirement, let's take an example of you have a marketing cloud project came into your company, and your company identified the data source. You need to understand where the data is coming, right? So in marketing cloud, you see the data sources are coming from. Uh, we can build a lead landing pages. We can ingest the, we can build in cloud pages, and then we could host the cloud pages into the websites, and then we could bring the leads into the marketing cloud. And there are different sources, right? Website leads, commerce leads, analytics. Through analytics, we can ingest the data into marketing cloud, POS terminal data, email profile and preference center data. uh, we people, a lot of people use ESPs to ingest the customers data, transactions data, or products data, right? Product category data. So you have all those details. So first of all, to start the project, any project, irrespective it's a marketing cloud, sales cloud, service cloud, experience cloud, any cloud, the biggest question is, so where is the source of data? Where you want to bring the data into this platform? We need to identify your data, nothing but a data sources. Once you identify your data, the next step, what you have to do is you identify the data. Okay, data sitting in FTP. Okay, I use an automation to bring the data into marketing cloud, but that is not true. As a consultant, an architect, and a developer, you have to identify what is your database of record. DBOR is nothing but database of record. You have a data sources which comes from the database, and after ingesting the data into marketing cloud, you need to understand what is your database of record. Let's take an example of student data, right? Student data, what you, I typically student name, first name, last name, right? So if I talk about these details, let's suppose I'm bringing the data from FTP. Okay, so in the FTP, I have a file called student information, like student ID, first name, last name, email, and there's gender, and there's blood group, his PAN card, or sorry, Aadhaar card, right? Typical basic details of a student that we would recommend. Otherwise, we can't able to do a personalization inside Journey Builder, or we can't able to build a good content for an email template, right? So we're going to bring the data of the minimal data that makes you the system of record, nothing but database of record. So out of this, what is your database of record? In order to build a right relation or a best relation, always stick with any unique data, nothing but an identical information, which is nothing but a student ID. Make the student ID as the database of record, nothing but a unique key or the primary key. Then you have to use a data designer. See, from a corporate schools and something, student is not the only data. So we have some other data. So what is the kind of data? Like We'll get a teacher's information, right? The faculty information. So the faculty information, how we faculty ID, right? Faculty ID, first name, last name of faculty, their email address, gender, blood group, Aadhaar card, and their primary subject, right? Primary subject, their schedules, right? To teach the lessons and all. So apart from this, there are one second. Apart from this, there are other kind of information where typically what kind of information you see is something like uh, we will get the data from FTPs. Now we will get the data from kind of a POS terminal, okay, or we can get the data from any payment gateway system. Okay, let's talk about maybe SAP. So student has paid the transactions, they'll pay fee ID, right? And they've done the transaction ID, transaction date, and you'll get the transaction time, and obviously you'll get the student ID, whom the transaction is going to be happen, right? And you'll get the relevant data from SAP, right? So we're going to bring all the data, but the primary motto of this data designer is to build the right cardinality, nothing but a good relations. Okay, the good relations. So here you have a data sources, FTP, you have a SAP. So you have a data sources defined where the data is coming from. It is coming from FTP for 2 files. There is one more file coming from SAP, right? So in order to build a right data model in the data designer, 2 steps you have to do it. One step, first of all, you have to create a good data source. You have to create a data source. You can see the data sources as I described, FTP, SAP, POS, or any other data sources. What you have to do was, in typical marketing cloud, you have to go to, first of all, to access the contact builder. Once you're logging into, let me refresh my screen. I'll just showcase how to logging into marketing cloud. So already logging into marketing, but I'm logging once again. Okay. So this is the screen once you're logging into marketing cloud with the URL mc.s11.exacttarget.com. S11 is nothing but your instance ID. And once you're logging into marketing cloud, you have an options which contains multiple channels, multiple omni-channels, email, mobile, social, ad, web interaction, and all the stuff, right? So here our today's topic is audience builder. Under audience builder, we have a contact builder. When you click on contact builder, so page takes some time, but it'll give you a lot of brief information about that, right? So now you see the contact builder. Under the contact builder, you see a lot of elements under contact builder. What it does: data designer, all contacts, data sources, data extensions, imports, contact configuration, contact analytics. These are all the topics where our other presenters is going to present in the next couple of weeks. So here you see the main beauty of the contact builder. So you can see the schema builder. In typical sales service cloud or our normal domain force.com platform, we calling as a schema builder, right? Schema builder contains many of the data sources. You see, email data is one source, group connect line data, mobile connect data, mobile push. So all these are the different kind of an attributes. Under each and every attribute, you can create the relations. Okay, now to define, as I said, right, to define the best data model, what you have to do is you have to create a data source first, because as a consultant, you need to understand where the data source, where the data has been coming into marketing cloud. So there are FTPs, there are SAPs. What you have to do is, as the first person, you have to go to your data sources, because I would like to cover these as well, because this is not our current topic, but to design the data, you have the prerequisites to define the data sources and to create some data extensions as well. As I described here, you have a data sources. Under each data source, I'm going to create a data extensions of 3 to build a relation between all 3 under data designer. Why? The biggest question is why you're doing it, because this is the best practice to follow in order to optimize your query performance, as well as you have to build a right data model that you leverage to your journey builder, right? You have a combination of this, your combination of all these 3 into one ID. You could build one-to-many relations and all one-to-one relation. So I can explain that as well. The primary motto of this designer is help you to optimize your query performance to structure your data model inside Marketing Cloud. Along with it, improves your performance of your data model and the ingestion of the data into Marketing Cloud, right? To do this, as a best practice, you have to define the data source first. Now, as a person, I'll go to this data sources. So data sources, you have a system data sources, which you can not able to, create anything. Synchronized data extensions, which comes from Marketing Cloud Connect. And we have a custom data extension that what I'm going to do it, what I'll do it, I'm going to create a new data source. FTP and the SAP will not capture, I'll FTP SAP. So to bring the data from different data sources. So if you have any image, which is really nice to have to manage your intuitive user interface, you can browse the image with some different 64 by 64 size, the image icon is. I don't have any such images available, but I'm just creating a data source for now, okay? I create a data source. Now what I'll do is, I'll go and then create a data extension that what I have defined. So I'm going to ingest the data through FTP. I'm going to ingest the data through SAP, or I can manually create some data extensions as well, okay? I'm going to create a data extension saying that student info, Kolkata with, and I'm going to define the student data. So here I'm going to put my change location as data extension. I'm going to use a sendable. I'm going to use a test as well. And next, so I have an option to define the data retention policies. So I'm going to define, I'm going to request delete operation for each and every individual record for this data extension that what I'm creating in the next 6 days. You have an option up till like you could choose your data extension within 6 days, or if you want to delete all records based on the record delete operation, it will automatically modify all records and data extensions. If you look at this, I'm gonna just keep 10 days. Or if you want to choose a particular date where you want to delete this data, so you can choose that as well. But I'm just keeping all records under this data extension. So I'm going to click on next. I'll keep just as individual records. I'll go to the next. So here I'm going to define the data, my data model. First, I want a student ID and first name, last name, email address. And one more important best practice, always when you're designing a data extensions, always manage the column names which is unique, okay? One data extensions, you keep email address, and one data extensions, you keep ADD, one data extensions, you keep email ID. It's not a good practice. Always put it the common practice to define the email address on a single, the same column should be reflected, or you're gonna create another data extensions with the same column names. I'm gonna put email address. Here I'm gonna use my Aadhaar card. I'm gonna use my order ID, right? So just use them, define a few of them. So here I wanna build a relation. My student ID is my subscriber key, and I'll go and then complete this. I've created my student info Kolkata with, and I have one more data extension that I would like to create. So that info is like faculty Kolkata with. So to hold faculty records. So I'm gonna use the sendable and a testable. So because these two you're already aware of it, right? So you can use a data extension to send the if you want to do some testing through email content, so you can use test, because this data extension is available while testing, and sendable is that you can use this data extensions while journey builder or any other automation email activities as well. So that is the benefit of these two. And I don't want to retention now, and I'll go next. I'm going to define my faculty ID. I'll use my first name, last name, email address, other number. I've created one more data extension called faculties. Now I'll create one more data extension. That data extension basically, I'm going to hold this, transaction data. So to hold student payments. So here I'm going to build my data model. I'm going to build my transaction ID, transaction date, and transaction a reference number, and here I'm going to put so I'm going to define few important ones. So my transaction ID, which is related to my subscriber key. Now I'll go and then complete this data extension. So I created 3 data extensions, right? Now I'm going to build a best data model, because this data model I'm going to design, because I have created a custom object, nothing but data extensions. And I want to build a relations, right? In typical sales service cloud, we have lookup, master, detail, one on, like many to many and all this stuff, right? But in marketing cloud, how you make relationships, how you define your relations, and how you define your attributes. I created 3 data extensions. Under data extensions, I have a different attributes I've created. So the biggest question is, in order to manage the data model, that what I design here, how I should relate my data extension to my data sources. How should I define my attributes under data extension in the data sources? What I'll do is, to manage this, I'll go and then I'll go to my data designer. So what you have to do is, once you define your data extensions, you created your data extensions, you created your data sources, go to your data sources. And now here, there's no attribute which is linked for your FTP and SAP data. So what you have to do is, you have to click on select data sources now. So it'll take some time. So the next step, what you have to do is, normally you have to link, because you have to manage the right data model, right? It's nothing much. You have to manage your right, each and every data extensions another field related to which data source, because that gives a lot of maturity and immense look and feel to manage the data that what you define in marketing cloud. Okay, now I have data extensions, I have data sources coming from different platforms, and I want to build a relation between all 3. Okay, now what I can do is, I'll create an attribute group, because attribute groups, so first of all, this is what the contact builder look like under data designer. You can see what we have done so far. So we define the system of record, we identify the data sources first, right? And we choose a database of record. And what we have done is, we created a couple of data extensions, we created data source, we created data extensions, and we created the data extension of students, faculty, and transactions, right? So we have done all these 3 parts. Now what we have to do is, we have to create an attribute group to link, to build a relation between data extensions, the 3 data extensions with the related data sources. I'll take a pause here before I go to the next slide, or build a relations. Okay, I'll ask if anyone has any questions. Okay, so that's why I said, right, Dinesh and Chavan, unfortunately, we don't have any practice or available in marketing cloud. I think a product team is really looking forward something to build in near future, but there is no practice or available right now. The only thing that what you have to do is, you have to go to an existing videos of different trailblazer communities, what they have delivered with the right with the brilliant presenters, and probably you could just go through it, or else your company has orgs. If not, reach out to any of your near friends so that they can happy to help you out. You want to add anything, Kathy?
Yeah, Fanindra, you covered it all. This is why we have come up with this workshop. Because we don't have the access to the orgs, you can at least have a look and feel, and you can see what all things are there. So we are covering each and every topic in a very precise and detailed manner, so that you understand and you have that hands-on without having the org.
Yep, thank you. So I'll go to the next slide. So now we covered this many. Then we need to understand what is an attribute group under data designer, what is population under data designer, right? So I'll go to the slides again, and I'll go back to presenter mode. Now you understand what is the data designer, what is the benefit of data designer in marketing cloud, right? I'll go to the next slide. Now we understand this data sources, we understand the database of record, we understand how to create a data source to make a brilliant UI data model, and we understand how to create a data extensions and the data extension retention period, why we use eSendable versus ease test, right? And you learned many of things, right? Now you have created a custom objects, nothing but data extensions. Now you want to build a good relation out of this, right? So how you want to do it? In order to build a relation in Marketing Cloud, to build a relation between two data extensions or three data extensions or four data extensions, there is a concept called attribute groups and population that gives a lot of significant move to build a relations. Now you understand one liner from the attribute groups. What is attribute groups? Attribute groups are data sources that are logically grouped together, and they allow you to organize data and configure relationships in Contact Builder. So the one which I've said in a different nomenclature terms, but this is what exactly the meaning. What is an attribute group? It's all to build a relation. You can just configure it, you can organize your data and build a relations. That is what the Contact Builder under the attribute groups. Okay, so the look and feel, how it look like, you see here, I created a one of the data designer. That data designer, which is nothing but I have, because every data in Marketing Cloud start with contact key. Contact key is, I'll talk about in the later point what is a contact key and what is the benefits of this contact in every person, every system of record in Marketing Cloud is a contact. Okay, everything is a contact until unless you send, until unless the contact has a relation to any of the multi-channel data. The contact has a relation to any of the multi-channel data, nothing but you use the contact. If you look at this, you use the contact with the different attributes, and I use one of the POS data for my transactions. I use my product catalog for, and I want to build a one-to-one relation between these two, or you want to build one-to-many. So that's define the data relations. This is a kind of a screen where you can go and then build a relations with one of your hard core table called contact. Everything you have to define the contact. From the contact, you have to build the relations. Okay. Now let's go back and let's see what is this data designer does. Now we need to create an attribute groups. So we've learned this. I'll go a little bit. We've learned database of record. We've learned the data designer. Now let's go and then find out the attribute groups. Okay. Now we can go to the attribute groups. What I'll do is I'll create a new attribute group. Okay. Because I have student data, faculty data, and the student paid fees. I have transaction data also. Okay. I'll define a attribute group name saying that Kolkata Vet, uh, maybe a school geography, geographies. I'll just define my anything, just normal icon, just different icons based on your name. You could just choose these icons. Okay, so you can just create this. Now it loads the data designer. As I said, the system of record and the hardcore of operation, which is nothing but a contacts. Everything has to relate to your contacts. Have choose a contacts. Now if I want something, if I want this kind of a data, like so if I choose my data which is related to my retail industry, you can just choose, because the logo also makes some good impact on your data model. If someone reviews the data model as an architect, so they feel really good. Okay, these guys have good understanding on the platform, good understanding on what they're doing it right. Now I have a contact. Now what I'll do is I'm going to, and one more, if you don't have a time, so in Schema Builder in Sales Cloud, right? So when you go to Schema Builder, so you define the schema, then you have an option to create an object directly over there, right? So the same concept in Marketing Cloud, you have an option to create data extension upfront here, or you can do it the same way that what I've done, or else you can just go and then you can click on here, three options. You can click data extension here, you could from here, and from data extension you can create data extension. Now I already created my data extensions. I created my student data, faculty data, transaction data, right? What I'll do is I'll go and link my data extensions. So now first I'll pick my student data, right? So here my data extensions, my Kolkata with student info. I'll just choose this data extension, right? And in this data extensions, I'm going to define, I'll just student info, my population, faculty. Okay, I'll just give me 1 second. I've done some. Let the attributes is going to be loaded. Let me check one of the attribute, one of the category group, one of the attribute group that what we have designed. I'll just choose the different data designers. Just link my data extension. So predominantly it will go and then give you the details about the customer data. Okay, let me go back to my data extension because maybe I forgot to define the primary keys of this. So I'll go and then define the primary keys of each and every data extension. My data extensions, KW, students, student info. So here to define my ID, which is student ID. It's related to my subscriber key for sending. Let me go and then this as required. It's taking a lot of time. Okay, I'll create one more attribute. The attribute talked about maybe student key, which is the text one, and so there's no attribute value has been defined for this, right? So now I'll go and then go to my data sources. So I don't have any attributes has been came here because you see the same attributes which is available for my existing data extensions. I'll go to my data designer again. I'll just create one more data designer. Salesforce WIT student info. Just pick this. So what I'll do is I'll just create one data extension directly from here, or else let me pick the existing one as well. Link my data extensions. I'll just link one of the data. Maybe I'll just pick the one which we've created, transactions data. Now, if you look at this, right, I have my customer data, or else I'll just change this to my student information, student info. Now you see here, so I have my customer data, the contact key, email address, mobile address, push devices, and all the application. Now I want to make my contact key as a student ID as a one-on-one relation. I have an option to go and then define what is the relation between your contact versus student, because it is one-on-one record. So you have to choose one-on-one relation, and now you can click on save. Now it'll ask you changing your data model affects other entities as well, and make sure this impact the functionality of your journeys, interactions, triggers, and all the process, because you define your data extension and all these fields. When you choose any of the journeys for the data extensions, you get the combination of contact data as well as the student information data. You click on done, and then you click on save. Now I have a one-on-one relation between these, my own contact key table versus the student information. Now I'll do the one-on-one relation between student versus, just click on plus again. Now you choose the data extensions. Now in data extensions, you choose the faculty now. Now I'll go and then define the faculty of, now you see my student ID. I'm going to choose my faculty ID because there are students, who has many of the faculties will go and then will go and then respond for each and every student, right? So you could define either one-on-one or one-to-many relations as well. But now what I can do is I'll just define one-on-one, because as an assumption that every student has responsible for a respective faculty to manage the progress of the kit, right? I'll just go and then click on save. Now I have a relation between student, my own contact, the primary contact table versus the student, and the student versus my faculty. Now I have a relation that I would like to talk about it here. Student versus the transactions, because student has paid fees for the 12 months. So it's obviously one-to-many relation, because you have plenty of transaction records will come into the picture. While you do for every 12 months, you'll have one transaction record at least. You'll pick the transaction record, and you can define the student as many of the transactions with one-to-many relations. Okay, and then click on save. Now, why we are building these relations? Because these relations will help you out to define the right data model for your journeys, trigger data, or emails, and all the stuff. And at the same time, you could use this because when you write a queries, right, when you want to get the data of a person from, if you look at the different, transaction data. So if you want to retrieve the transaction reference number for so and so student ID, so what you do normally is you're going to go and then build a query, and you can get easily, because you have a relation, you have a primary key, you have an external key defined for each and every data extensions to automatically give you the best optimizations for every query. At the same time, you could leverage, if we go to the one data extensions, under one data extension you see all these fields, because you have a relation, you can build the relation and use those fields to multiple events, right? So like this, you could use your data designer to build the relations, to organize the data model for your entire marketing cloud, to optimize your query performance, to optimize your automations, everything. This is the best practice to go ahead with. And for looking at consultants and architects, this is the way that everyone we recommended to go ahead and then follow the process to define the data model for your organization. At the same time, we have one more, that is nothing but, if you look at this, right? So you understand what is the benefit of attribute groups. Now you understand the same concept, like, what is the use of population, right? Under the data designer, you have an attribute groups, right? You have an attribute groups here, attribute groups, you have in populations. So now you understand what is the difference between population versus attribute groups. Okay, now you can go to my slide back once again. I'll go a bigger slide. Now you understand the data designer under, you understand the attribute groups, right? Now you understand what is the population. So populations are similar kind of an attribute groups. However, the populations are used to categorize a distinct subgroup of contacts, because under one contact, you have customer ID, customer name, and all the details, because contact is your main table in Marketing Cloud that is defined by Marketing Cloud. But think about, as a person, I don't want a contact table. I want to build a separate population. Nothing but, if you take an example of, in a motor vehicle company, there are plenty of drivers available, and there are plenty of other cleaners available, right? So you need to define the population under the contacts. There are cleaners, and there are drivers. You need to make a subset of those master data, because contact is my master data. Out of this, I want to build another submasters data using my population. And don't create more populations, because it will definitely affect your performance. Maximum to maximum populations, I would recommend to create three, just a three population record. That gives a lot of improve the performance of your application. If you go more lot of population, then it will have a lot of performance issues again, right? So this definitely help you out, because this is the master list that help you out for your journeys, that who are all the people are entering into the journey, and what is their significance. Is this a population group, or is this a, because you have a different kind of an attributes, right? You have system attributes, you have a behavioral kind of an attribute. So those kind of a data that can define using populations as well. You see how the population look like. See, I have contacts. This population, I'm going to create a known population under drivers. You can create one more population using dealers or cleaners. So that gives, and again, this population, you can't able to edit these things. It is just something which you define, that leveraging and it is just on an average, maximum to maximum, very less customers leverage this population. But you just need to understand what is this population. Okay, it'll give us just some kind of dividing the master data into two distinct group of master data. That's it. Nothing much here. If I go back to my marketing cloud org, so what I have done is, so here, and there's one more. In attribute groups, we define attribute of Kolkata with school geographics, right? But we don't have any attributes linked here, right? It is very bad because looking at this, it doesn't look good, right? So you have to do is you have to go to the data sources. Okay, in data sources, what you have to do is you can go to the custom data sources. Now you have an option. See, 19 attributes have not selected any data source. As I said, for a better data model for the UI perspective, what you have to do is you have to just choose all the data sources, right? So these are all part of your driver and all, but rest all part of your three data extensions you created, your student data, faculty data, all this data normally, right? So I've created one data source where the data is coming from. That is nothing but your recipe and FTP data. Now I click on done. Now all my attributes which are part of this data sources will be copied into my FTP SAP data sources. Like a time, I'll just refresh my screen. So that's why you have to organize your data model to manage your intuitive UI and to manage your expectation for the consultants to understand how exactly we can be able to do it. It's not copied. Let me go and then copy again. Just go to your custom data source, choose your data sources. Now you choose an option. I've selected the fields. Now I have to choose where you want to link these attributes, which kind of data source. I'm going to choose this. Now all the attributes is going to be copied to my linked attributes. Now if I can go back to my data designer, so under this, I'll just refresh this. Under my KWD school geographics, you can see that data. So where is this KWIT data? POIS data source. Look at the respective details, and you define. I'll just go a little bit. So I have my school zero attributes, not this one. Go to my So these are all my attributes that what we have created. This is the one which I've used for testing. I'm just finding out where it is. Salesforce, KWIT, WIT. Look at, right? So if you can go to any of these attributes normally, so you look at the data extensions, the field name, what are all the restricted values you could manage within the field level as well. You could define the data source, which already send it as a part of this. And so this is how it looked like. Each and every attribute within the categories, your entire attribute groups. So that's how you have to manage your data model and the data sources, which defines the maximum efficiency of your automation queries. And if you want to write your queries using the query studio, or you want to use journey builder or anything, so you'll get one data extension to match everything, right? So that's the concept of data designer. And I'll go back to define some best practices, how it look like. So hope you understand what we have learned so far under the data designer, right? You understand the attribute groups, you understand the population to break the master data into sub-master groups, right? Now, this is a concept of your entire data designer look like to define the data model in Marketing Cloud, to establish the relations between 2-3 data extensions using attribute groups, and to distinct the master data between contact versus other through population, right? So I'll go back to my presentation. I would like to talk about a couple of other most important things in every architecture, marketing cloud, architecture consultants. So there is a scope in marketing cloud, right? So everyone want to understand what is the contact model scope. So essentially, every architect in marketing cloud, consultant or developers, you all working with different marketing cloud accounts. We have enterprise accounts, enterprise 2.0 account, right? So we have data extensions we created under shade model, and you look at, right? So we have a different business units. So brand A, brand B, and the data extensions related to brand A and the brand B. So you can share those data extensions to multiple business units using a shared data extensions. So this is one of the important thing where when you work with enterprise level, make sure when you create a data extension at a parent BU level, make sure those data extensions should be share mode. And I would recommend to build it in shared data extension so that the other BUs can be leveraged and build a contact model. Okay, because the same contact model can be established with to both the business units. Create one contact model that can be leveraged for multiple business units. That's a good practice. As I said, right? So when configuring a data model with data designer, keep in mind that each configuration is available in the respective BUs. That's the best practice. So you can see what we illustrated, two business units that shares the same contact model, but each model only applied within single BU. So nothing but brand A and brand B. So this is very, very important. Make sure this has to be followed. So the other thing, apart from the model scope, that what I would recommend, there are some best practices we would like to leverage. As I said, use a single contact key for any data, for any multi-channel data, mobile, email studio, mobile studio, or mobile push. So in email, email address, mobile number, mobile push device ID. Don't categorize for each data extension. If you use mobile email studio only, the product of email studio, don't go and then create an email ID as a unique key or a subscriber key. Okay, so please use contact key as a subscriber key to talk all the three systems. That is the best practice. Okay, so that's really good practice. I would recommend, don't at if you're targeting to use, don't ever use, because for some of the ad hoc campaigns I would go and then leverage email address. But if you want to go with enterprise level architecture, I would recommend to use contact key, nothing but just a normal contact key as a subscriber key. Okay. So the other things, some of the best practices where I put it down here from the screenshot from other sources. So use unique value that does not relate to the specific channel, as I said, right? So email, group, email, mobile push. So don't use specific channel, specific contact IDs. Use one grid that generates one unique key across all the omni channels. And at the same time, put the consistent contact information and avoid duplicated records for the same individual. And at the same time, importing data from multiple external systems, make sure it identify the source of truth system that provides unique identifier across all the systems. So when importing external systems, nothing but so you have to identify the source of truth, right? So where is the source of truth, the data coming from across all the platforms, and use that identifier as a contact key to ensure the consistent data imports and prevents the data integrity as well as the data loss. Okay, so these are some of the best practices for the contact key perspective. And finally, we've learned all the demo that what I've showcased on a step-by-step process. And I would like to talk about it, right? What is the difference between contact? You see, when I design data designer, when I create system data relations, you see the primary is a contact, right? The contact is a primary to have a relation to rest of the data extensions. You need to understand what is contact in marketing cloud. Okay. So there is a differentiating between contact versus subscriber is more important actually in marketing cloud. So contact is a person that send messages to through any marketing channel. It's a respective Aloka, marketing cloud, or HubSpot, or anything. So contact is typically a record which appears in different locations. So the contact available in data sources. You can see it in the synchronized data extensions. You can see it in the different locations. But Salesforce Marketing Cloud doesn't count any cost related to your contacts. It doesn't count you a cost related to your contacts. It counts your dollar value related to your subscriber, because subscriber is a person like a contact who opted the communication belongs to a particular channel. Because I'm a person Fanindra, I'm a contact coming from Sales Service Cloud, but I've not Marketing Cloud doesn't use my record to send any email communications. They've not used my contact to send email, mobile, or SMS. It doesn't mean that it means that I'm not a subscriber inside Marketing Cloud. I'm just a contact. If I if my if my system admin uses my contact to send an email or SMS, then I'm a subscriber. Then I treat it as one subscriber inside the Marketing Cloud platform. As I keep in mind that all subscribers are all subscribers in Marketing Cloud or contacts, because subscriber is a person who opted or received communications or belongs to a particular channel called mobile, email, SMS. That's what we calling as all subscribers are your contacts. But as I said, not all contacts are your subscribers, and Salesforce doesn't cost you around your contacts. It costs you all the subscribers. Okay, that's one of the most important thing. Yeah, so this is how the contact information look like. The next slides, where one of a few of my presenters is going to present what is all contacts, what is data extensions, imports, contact configuration, contact analytics, and all. So like to talk about some of these options in the next coming sessions. And there's a significant amount of understanding the depth of this contact builder. It just really makes sense, because this is most important, the first most important. Okay, the first most important to design any Salesforce to landing into Marketing Cloud, because every system, you make Marketing Cloud, Sales Cloud, or any other AWS cloud or Azure. So the first step is to design your data. That data done through Data Designer. You learned that today, and some of the references which I've articulated here. Please go through this, which understand the Data Designer concept in Marketing Cloud, and come back to the next session to understand more. Okay, I'll just share this. And once again, thank you for giving this opportunity and talk on this event, Kathy. And it's really good event, and I hope you like the event as well. I'll just share the references with you. I'll put it in a chat so that you can just go through it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Fanindra. It was a wonderful start for Contact Builder, and you had done the justice to the topic. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah, so the first question is, Data Designer is similar to Schema Builder? Is it right or wrong?
Yeah, that's true. That's what I'm saying, right, Ruchika? So it's similar to Schema Builder. Yeah, like exactly, you're right.
Okay. So is there any difference in building a query with joins or by using Data Designer?
Yes, Satish. So that's what the intention of our data designer, right? So when you want to write a query on contact to bring the relevant faculties associated with that, then probably if you don't have any relation, then you can't be able to write a query in any org, in any system. Not only in Marketing Cloud, Sales Cloud, or any other platform, you have to define a relation to bring the relevant results, and that gives a lot of immense experience. That's where I would recommend to, if you want to build a relations, just build a designer with a system of attributes. That's it.
Okay. Thank you again, Fanindra, for such an insightful session. Let's wait for 1 minute while you share all the links. If there's any question.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Thank you.
Sure. I would recommend everyone, like, the consultants or architects, is a part of this. This is the main footprint in Marketing Cloud. If without this, I think you should never understand the performance of the Marketing Cloud on the queries, optimizations, or automations, or anything. Even in APIs also, it'll take a lot of significant element to architecture Marketing Cloud or MarTech platform. Yep. So these are all the materials and the trailhead modules which I would go through each and everyone to understand more on the data model of Marketing Cloud via Data Designer. And there are subsequent sessions which I've articulated, which talks about all contacts, which talks about analytics, on contact analytics, and data sources and all the stuff. You really understand more from this perspective. But the first session that what I've given is much more important. That is a key step for defining your data model and the relations between Marketing Cloud versus other systems. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fanindra. I don't see any questions.